Super, super excited to be here. Okay, perfect. This clicker works.
Turn it on.
Oh.
And then it should work.
Perfect. All right, it may help. All right, so we're going to talk about the Beyond Player Development Workshop or model. So the big thing I came up with this model was basically and essentially is I did a lot of stuff. So I would talk to people about player development. I found myself talking to coaches and other people. And what would happen is I'm talking to these coaches, I'm talking to these people, and I'm over their heads. I'm over their heads because I'm sitting there. And Damon, I'll use your example. So I got out of Baylor. I'm talking to Damon. Damon's like, hey man, like my coach, and I sent you like 3 different, hey, you could do this, we could do this, we could do that, right? And I knew you were good, but I knew if you had to get it to chief of staff, that's just a lot. Man, it's a lot. It's just whatever, right? So I sat down. I got y'all know I'm passionate about it. I got over 4 days of content on YouTube about this. 4 days, so people can binge watch 4 days. I actually ran into a guy who watched a podcast episode. He literally just got his position removed, and he's like, "I watch your podcast on how to transition." I was like, I forgot I did that, right? So I do that stuff, but how can I get it into one framework where everybody understands it? How can we communicate this to a coach? How can we communicate this to AD? How can I communicate this to a parent? And so I was kind of nerding out one night and came up with the Beyond model, right? Of course, it's an acronym off Beyond, but that's there. Oh, sorry. So we're going to start off with the definition of player development, and I define player development as that. You're going to hear a lot here. People are going to say like player development is different everywhere you go, and that is very, very true. So I worked at 3 universities, and at University of Houston, I worked for 3 head coaches in 3 years. I worked for 3 head coaches literally in 2.5 weeks. It was the craziest thing ever. I worked for Tom Herman. He saw player development a certain way. Tom Herman goes to Texas. He leaves. Todd Orlando, our defense coordinator, becomes the head coach. He sees player development a certain way. He leaves. He doesn't get the job. Major Applewhite gets the job. Major Applewhite sees it differently, right? And so you see all these people that do it differently. I go to Kansas with Les Miles. Shout out to Les Miles, but he sees it differently. I found out Les Miles say yes to anything as long as you throw recruiting in there. So I was like, bet. I throw recruiting in there, he's gonna give me all the resources I need, right? So doing that with Les Miles, and then I go to Baylor, and we'll talk about that, and player development is definitely way different than I thought. So in all of those experiences, how do we define it, right? How do we define it if everybody's seeing it differently? So for me, the definition here is it's the enhancement of the athlete experience. If we don't remember anything, when I talk to coaches, when I talk to people, if we don't remember anything about player development, the enhancement of the athlete experience. I am enhancing the athlete's experience at the end of the day. If you sit there, well, what are you doing? I'm enhancing the experience, right? I used to joke with our guys and say, you guys go lift weights. I thought the Grand Prix didn't got out here. I got you. Oh, that's right. It's right there. Yeah. I used to joke with our players and say, hey, when I would introduce myself, because you got to introduce yourself to players, right? You got to, right? They got to know who you are. I never did it right when they first came in. I would always, go in about March. This is what I actually do. Oh, okay. So you enhancing our experience. Bet. You're going to find out what I do later. But I'll say, hey, after y'all lift weights, the weights are there. You've already done your body's going to do. The protein shake y'all take is the enhancement. I said, just consider me a chocolate protein shake, right? And I was the enhancement there. But then we get deeper. As we get deeper, it's through intentional and holistic programming. So we're going to do it intentionally and holistically, right? And programming could be a lot. And this also put initiatives. I forgot to put in here, sorry, programming and initiatives, right? Because that is not just me talking here. I'll tell you some different things here. That is me walking with so-and-so to class, right? Why? Because so-and-so is from the country and we're in Houston and this is a lot for so-and-so, right? So I'm just going to walk to class so-and-so. And I'm doing programming on the way there. Hey, man, how you doing? Man, how is it? Are you training? What has been better this week about Houston? Man, the roads are crazy, but I went to the Texans game. Oh, snap. How was it? Oh, it was great, right? That's programming, right? Hey, man, I saw your grades. You kind of, where we at in class? Like, right? That ain't nothing new to you. Well, okay, well, what can we do, right? So we're doing all that. So that's all essentially player development, right? So what happened is here. So this structure right here, like I said, I had all this stuff. I got all these files. I got all this stuff, all this content, all this stuff about player development. I could talk about it all day, right? Somebody asked me at the job I had, they said, it was Dean. Dean asked me, Dean said, what could you talk about right now for 45 minutes? I was like, I'd go up there in 45 minutes. I'm good. I'd go 2 hours if you wanted me to. But came down to these pillars, right? So I was like, what is everything? Everything I've done in player development, everything we essentially do in player development falls into these areas, right? the beyond, right? Belonging, education, your purpose, opportunities, navigation, development systems, right? So essentially that's what it all falls into. Everything that I've ever done when I look at, okay, freshman orientation, senior career trip, all of it's gonna fall in here, and I'll talk about it here in a little bit. All right, so with this model, to break all this down, we can identify what matters most for the athletes, right? So I can go to a coach and say, hey, this is what matters most. And essentially, we'll see this. I can break down one of these with a coach. Hey, coach, what are we having a problem with right now? And if a coach says, hey, we got a belonging problem. Well, that's my way in, right? That's my way in. Because now belonging has to lead to education. Or you can say belonging has to lead to your purpose. Like it leads to something else, right? So we have that framework there. It helps us align development with team culture and goals. So now that was a big thing you'll hear people talk about. It's tough. A coach has these goals, you got these goals, right? But I gotta be somewhere aligned with him because he's paying me, right? He ain't gonna just let me do whatever I want to do. But now I can align it through that. Something he got gonna fall on one of these pillars, right? It creates consistent and intentional programming. So now I'm consistent. It's intentional. We do it every single year. And it's intentional. We're gonna do it. Here's beyond. Here's it. But it changes with teams. One of the quotes I love, Nick Saban said, it changed my life when I was doing player development. They had won the national championship. And they said, hey, Coach Saban, how do you feel about this team, repeat next year? He's like, this is a different team. Like that, the team next year, I don't know what that team is. We ain't practiced, I don't know who gonna, yeah. And this is even before transferring. This was just legit. As we all know, every season is different, right? And so I remember like, dang, that's really, really good. Like every year it's gonna be different. Clearly communicate your approach to coaches, athletes, stakeholders. So when I sit here now, if I'm doing a recruiting, and then you know this, where you got parents, I'm sitting here and this is easier for me to say than, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. Hey, we got beyond. We're gonna make sure your son belongs. We're gonna make sure he takes advantage of his education. We're gonna make sure he finds out about his purpose. We're gonna make sure he has great opportunities. We're gonna make sure the navigation is good, and it all falls into our development systems, which I'll talk about later if you wanna talk. Boom, done. Right? So I made it easier than going through a 15-minute slide, because what I found out, Damon, I don't know if it changed, the people who weren't listening to the presentation weren't the athletes. It was the parents. It was the parents. The parents do not listen. They would not listen. Players would be locked in. I got mom over here, dad worried about trying to stake and putting on the jersey, and the kid locked in. So now I was like, okay, well, we'll do this. And now now I can go to the parent, hey, question for you. How would you like your son to belong here? Boom. Now you locked in. Because everybody locked in because I asked the question. And I was like, oh man, I'm on eggshells. Shout out to teaching. I used to do it when I was teaching. All right, so here's some questions here. We'll look at them. You can take a picture of them and break them down there because I want to get the questions. But these are questions I ask people when I'm doing this. I actually did kind of walk through this with Iowa State a couple months back. How do you currently define player development within your program, right? So shout out, he's here actually, Leon Douglas. He's the head of player development at Iowa State. And one thing he did was he talked about like he's a high school coach. So he's always essentially done player development. He's been a principal, all that, right? So we want to say, well, how do we define it, right? What does it look like? His coach actually wants to do it. I met his coach, came, met me, he was pretty cool, right? But how do we define it, right? Because coaches will say, I just want you to change their life. That is the broadest statement. Like, and I'll never forget a guy called me, he's still at BYU, Mike Hall. Mike called me, he said, hey man, somebody told me to call you, I just got the job. I said, well, and the first thing I asked, what did your coach say? He said, my coach said, just go change their life. Bet. Sounds about right? So we want to define it. How do we define it? What areas of development are you intentionally focused on today? What are we focusing on today, right? Focus on today. Or what do you focus on? What is your current approach? Where do you feel strong? It's good to know where we feel strong. Like for me, I was good with relationships, right? I was good with relationships. Where are the gaps or inconsistencies? The inconsistencies for me were I forgot to follow up with so-and-so. Like, so now I know, okay, I can get better, right? How clearly can you explain your player development approach to others, right? So this helps. We want to explain it because they're never going to give you a chance to explain it, but they're always going to ask. I'll never forget I was working at Baylor, and he's at Arkansas right now, I think. Coach Eric Mateos, we all just got there. He walks by my office. He's like, hey, does the stop. And I'm like, I already know what that is. Does the beep, beep, beep. He says, hey, what's player development? I said, how much time you got? He's like, we here. I said, you mind? Let's talk. I said, you gonna want to be a head coach one day, right? Yep. I said, all right. So this is what it is. This is how I can help you. This will help you. This is how I can help you on the field, off the field, blah, 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 right? So you always have to be better because they're never gonna say, hey, can you give a presentation to the staff? That ain't never happened, right? Never happened. All right. So let's break it down, right? So let's talk about belonging. Belonging, there's a stat by American Psychological Association. Students who feel they belong are significantly more likely to persist and succeed academically, right? We know that. If I feel like I belong, I'm going to do more there. I have 3 stories of belonging. I wrote them down because I will forget them. I have in my pocket. 3 stories of belonging, right? One thing I learned, somebody told me to do this, and Drew mentioned it a little earlier. And when you're looking at belonging, right, one thing someone told me to do was ask people why they have tattoos. Why do you have tattoos, right? There's a story behind a tattoo. I had a great conversation about a guy with a tattoo. Did not know this out. He had a tattoo of a ram. I was like, why I'm looking at his high school. He didn't play, nobody played for the Rams. I said, why do you have a ram? He said, it's my mom's favorite animal. I said, oh, tell me more about your mom. He said, well, she passed away 2 years ago. And, and so we started talking. Then I found out that he struggles fall camp, right? I think it's August, happened in August. And he struggles in fall camp. And if anybody ever been in fall camp is, whoo, man, coaches are like, they don't give a damn about nothing but football, right? And so after having that conversation about tattoos, I was able then to say, how can I support you? He said, Coach, it's tough for me. It's been 2 years. He's 18 years old. So it's really, really tough for me. Okay, awesome. Well, not awesome, but I got you, right? So I go there. I go have a conversation with his running backs. Hey, just want to give you a heads up. Fall camp is going to happen. I'm going to give you an alert. I put it in my calendar, let you know. I go to academics. Hey, just before school starts, he's going to do this. Go to the head coach. Hey, boom, boom, boom. Go to strength coach. Hey, just do this. Go to the dietitian. He's probably going to lose weight because he's probably not going to eat all that, right? So we get to fall camp. I come back around, calendar, everybody, oh, hey, everybody remember the plan? We're good, right? Kid had his days, but the kid had stayed. He ended up playing. We told him he actually played because he felt like he belonged, right? That was one, right? Another story of belonging I visited a university. So I'm at a university, and they had a perfect setup, like the setup I've always dreamed of. They had a staff, 5 people doing player development. Their office was in the best place you could have an office. It wasn't on coach's row. Coach's row is where everybody is like, so you got, basically I'm always on coach's row. You there, they try to talk to you and the defense coordinator standing there. I'll never forget at Houston, I talked to a kid and one of the defense coaches like, hey, what'd y'all talk about? I said, man, get out of my office. Like, right? So anyway, they had an office between the locker room and the training room. Perfect. They had space, all that. And I'm sitting there and I'm consulting with them, we're talking, and I'm starting to notice something. It's really quiet. How y'all? Training room loud, locker room loud, this office is quiet. So I asked the guy, I said, hey man, tell me what y'all did when y'all got here. Because they was just new staff, they had just got there. I said, what did y'all do? He said, we got here in February, we started doing programming in March. I said, and they did like a abroad programming. I said, oh, so y'all took kids somewhere else and then excluded kids that you didn't know. So you got kids, and I was like, they were like, oh, like, yeah, you don't have relationships. And the one kid who came in knew me because I recruited him in Houston. He's like, Ed Jones? No belonging. Perfect location. The training room, locker room, you can't ask for it, right? Can't ask for anything better. And then the last thing I have for belonging is it was a moment, the Baylor head coach, he hated when I did this. He hated it. I would do a ha, and the players would always respond, a ha. They loved it, right? But it was always, once they knew we finished that, whatever I was gonna say was serious, right? So we have a staff meeting. He said, hey man, just go up there and talk. Just go up there and talk. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't, that's how we belong. Our guy, we're connected because I do that. And I walk up there, and they do it, but then we're locked in. Everybody because the subject I was talking about is something that we struggle with the whole year. And so he's mad that I did the but I'm thinking about I have to belong. I'd rather you be mad and talk to me for 10 minutes than you come back in my office for the next week because we can't figure this out because you won't let me tell them how it is, right? So that was the area of belonging. So belonging is there. All right, so here's 2 questions you want to ask with belonging. How do you want athletes to feel when they are part of your program? How do you feel? Like, how do you feel, right? How do you feel I'm a part of our program? How do you feel? Do you just feel like a football player? Do you just feel like you're here? Do you feel like we just paying you and you got your money and you just, you know what I'm saying? And then the second one is, where in your program are athletes most likely to feel disconnected? This is a big one. Where are they likely to feel disconnected? This is why I spend a lot of time in the training room. Spend a lot of time in the training room because this is where you can lose really, really good players. Really good players. There was when I got to Baylor, y'all may know his name if you watch the NFL, Terrell Bernard. He started linebacker for the Bills, captain for the Bills. When I got to Baylor, Terrell Bernard, shoulder injury. Jalen Petrie, some of y'all know Jalen Petrie plays safety for the Texans, shoulder injury. Khalil Keith, right tackle, shoulder injury. I'm like, man. So they all did rehab, and they hated the rehab lifts Because we all know there's some guys that probably in there a little longer than they want to, right? They in there incubating, right? And so I'm talking to them and they're like, hey, you need to get with Terrell. I was like, I'm not going to just get to him. I'm going to go to these lifts. I'm going to go there. And I'm connecting with them. And they literally, I'll never forget, this is when I knew, boom, I got him, essentially. It was picture day, and I didn't even know they were following me on Instagram. Picture day, I had a suit on. I was like, I got my suit on. And they just like lost it when they saw me. Man, you crazy, man, blah, 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 blah. Boom, we're good. Both of them all Big 12, both of them graduate. Like, we're good. Because you can lose, not just players, you can lose good players and like really, really good players to help your team. Because they're going to see, oh, y'all can win without me. Which is, we don't need to tell them that because we actually need you. We can win a game, but to have them too, we won a Big 12 championship and the Sugar Bowl. We need y'all to win that. So I always want to see where it could be disconnected, right? Is it the transition? Is it when we get players in? Do we lose them, right? Is there a transition play? Because it's a lot. You're dealing with this guy's gone, this guy's gone. What about Ed Jones that I want to stay at UTSA, I'm going to be here for 4 years. Now I feel disconnected because all the attention is going there, right? The other disconnect is when them guys, it's tough. The hardest thing I had when I was in it and when it was more traditional is the freshman class that comes in that realizes you're going to recruit the next class. And they go from the whole staff communicating with them all for 2 years to it's just Ed Jones, the strength coach, the dietitian, academics, compliance, and equipment. That's a hard transition. Like a lot of guys folded in it. So I need to know, okay, boom, that's where we can have a disconnect. Let me dive in deep. Let me go tell this coach to come say, coach, just come say what's up. Just talk, tell them to come in your room. They don't know, coaches, they have to recruit the next class to keep their job. So that's that. All right, education. So how are we gonna teach them, right? This is outside of what they're learning. How are we gonna teach them what we wanna teach them, right? So use this stat right here. Students who participate in structured learning programs are more likely to retain information and apply what they've learned compared to passive learning environment. So a lot of people say more learning is, caught than taught? I agree, but we better teach what we want them to apply. We better teach what we want them to apply, right? And then learners are more engaged and more likely to complete development programs when content is structured, interactive, and intentionally designed, right? Structured, interactive, intentionally designed. Because you know how it is, man, I know, PA, y'all deal with PA. Man, you try to help, all right, cool. It's structured, I don't care how you feel. You know it, so when you come in here, you know it's structured, you know you're gonna get some out of it. So you could be, man, I don't care if you Jimbo from A-Leaf, Texas, you're gonna come here and sit down and get this done. Because you know you're gonna learn something, right? All right, so education, we're asking 2 questions. What do we want our athletes to learn during their time in our program? Like, what do they want? Well, they're gonna learn, well, what do we want them to learn? Yep. What do we want them to learn? Like, what is pivotal, right? How are you aligning your programming with what coaches? I'm good. I'm gonna just stay right there. That's Drew. I need to hit the out. How are you aligning your program with what coaches want for their athletes? If you talk to them, they will tell you what they want the athletes to learn. They will, and they don't even know they're communicating it. Because I always say coaches, they frustrate me. They really do, because they have a plan for every single thing except for this. A plan for every. They can break down what goal line. This 5 minutes is broken down to a T. If anybody's ever seen a practice chart, it is to a T. But you can't sit here for 4 weeks. Let me get 4 weeks to do this. It can't even, it's too much for you, right? So I'll just start talking to him. Hey, coach, man, what's Coach, man, the mom was talking and she was just asking me what she would learn, being here. What do you think our son would learn? Like, what's pivotal to you? If I had to tell the mom and she didn't want to hear, she wanted to hear from you. Oh, well, they got to know these 3 things. Bet. I'll see you later, right? So getting with them, but you got to talk to them. Because they I don't know why. It frustrates me because they're the most, essentially, coaches can be the most organized, disorganized people ever. But when they lock in on what they want to lock in, literally to a T. If we are on this hash mark at this time, when the wind's blowing here at this time, at this temperature, we always run this play. Why? Because we get 7+ yards. Okay, cool. So you can tell me that, but you can't tell me why, right? But you have to have a conversation and see what they want. Because it feels like, I think sometimes a lot can see us in that role as kind of like a contractor. Like, you do that. No. This is your program. I'm gonna do my job, but I want to do what you're doing. All right, the why is your purpose. People with a strong sense of purpose live longer and have better physical and mental health outcomes. So that's from the National Institute of Health, right? So we know that, right? The people, your purpose, right? And then you could do this, you could do all that stuff, you could do all that. One thing I'm a big fan of, and I don't have stats on it, is helping people. What is literally the question, what do you want your purpose to be? It just unlocks so much. Even if they don't figure it out, they just at least think about it. So now I got so-and-so walking around the locker room thinking about it, right? I was joking with Chad and Evan. We talking last year. We had a kid, or when I was at Kansas, we had a kid. Wouldn't do any. We tried everything, run them, do all that. So I said, bet. I told him to come to my office. I said, I flipped my screen. I said, hey man, this is Southwest Airlines. Which flight you want back home to Dallas? No. I said, no. You want to go back to Dallas because your actions are saying you want to go back to Dallas. So let's figure out what flight it is because I got a meeting at 2:00. It's 45. I got 2 hours to get to the airport and back. Well, no, ain't no coaches. You have been told all this, right? So now I got him where I want him. He know he can't go back to South Dallas. It's bad. Mom, loved his family, but mom, it was bad. So now I'm saying, well, so what do you want to do? Why did you come all the way to Lawrence, Kansas from South? I had to get away. Why? Because I don't want to do what I saw. What did you see? This. Why don't you want to do it? Right? Now, it took time, right? It takes time. I ain't gonna flip. He was a graduate. A conversation like that, I don't have the stats. I don't have the assessments at the moment, but just questions. Dig in there, right? So when we look at your purpose, how are you helping athletes define who they are beyond their sport? Who are you beyond their sport, right? That's why I love the training room. I talk about it. The training room, that is the easiest conversation to have when somebody has an injury. Because people will be like, you can't have a conversation when they have an injury. Yes, you can. Because it literally is taken away. Especially during a winning streak. Oh, yeah, we gonna talk, right? But then also, what opportunities exist in your program for athletes to reflect on their identity and future? Now, we do need to do some programming. Well, how are we giving them a chance for everybody to do it, right? Because when everybody gets, we all know this, it can be a force multiplier when people talk about purpose. If we got the whole defensive line in the room talking about purpose, then the D-line gonna be talking about their practice, then the linebackers know, then all this, right? What y'all talking about, man? Why you start, hey, your homeboy, nah, man, I'm gonna get to class on time. Whoa, man, I'm gonna get to class on time. Why? Because I'm not being who I want to be, right? So we want to do that as well. All right, the O here is opportunities. And this from the NCAA. Shout out. I saw this when I was making this presentation. I made this presentation during the NCAA tournament. They said every other commercial, only 2% of NCAA student athletes go on to play professional sports, right? So here, when we're looking at this, what opportunities can you intentionally create for your athletes? What can we create? What are the opportunities, right? The biggest missed opportunity, and I don't want to say miss, but the biggest opportunity for growth, I believe, this miss in this is, one of the biggest misses is alumni. It's the easiest ask. Alumni, they will move a mountain for a t-shirt and a hat. Like, or some team gear that you don't want to wear. I don't like this. This is whack. They'll move it all, right? So how can we create opportunity there? And then what opportunities are your athletes asking for or interested in? What are they asking for? We got to listen to what they're asking for. They're going to ask, what are they asking for? What are they interested in, right? What is it, right? What is it? And so you'll be shocked. So I used to always ask them, what are you interested in? Because they'll tell you what they're majoring in. I didn't ask you that. What are you interested in? So we had a player, Alexander Myers. Alex said, I don't want to specifically learn about a career. I just want to learn from entrepreneurs. We have any former players that are entrepreneurs. I was like, bet. So I found a guy. He was an All-American kicker for us at the University of Houston. His name is Sebastian Villarreal. And he had like this, he was doing like injections for people, but he figured out, he was a doctor who was doing injections. All the supplies he purchased were his supplies from his supply company. The building he was in is his, or was his, building. Really, he had a real estate company for that. The filing he did, the medical files, was his company, right? And so he's telling Alex, like, hey, I don't pay myself. So everything, literally his whole operation was, staffing. He did staffing as well. So he did staffing there through his thing. So Alex wanted that, and guess what Alex does now? Alex owns a coffee company, right? But it's like he wanted to learn about entrepreneurship, so let's just give him what he wants, right? All right, then navigation right here. When we look at navigation, the stat says here, major life transitions are one of the top sources of stress, and individuals without support systems experience significantly higher levels of anxiety and uncertainty, right? So you're gonna hear this later today with Jonathan Orr. You're gonna hear this multiple times when we talk about navigation. Just it happens, right? You're an athlete, and most athletes have been athletes for a long time, right? Especially specifically football. Once you're bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody, it's the league. You're leaguing, right? We all know that guy in the little league. I still remember the guy I went against, Mike Griffin. My first time ever playing football, Mike hit me so hard, his face mask was imprinted on my forearm for a week. But Mike's dad played NFL. Everybody's like, Mike's gonna be in the NFL like his dad, right? Mike is not in the NFL, right? Mike didn't even play high school football, right? But anyway, whatever it looks like, what is that transition? What is that navigation? Now you got athletes who are injuries. Now, did y'all see the 3 or 4 undrafted free agents that said, hey, I'm done. I'm just gonna retire, right? So they're getting out on their own because a lot of athletes now have what they wanted, which is, I'm in the game to make money. I made money, I got connections. But even in that, what's the navigation, right? Because everybody's, oh, that's good. They went out on their own. They did it. But that's still a big navigation. Going from a locker room, all these people supporting you, and you're like, I'm gonna go on my own. Ain't nobody else out there doing that. You're the first, especially when you're the first to do it. They're the first to kind of do this, right? And so how do we have that help with that navigation? So some questions here. I have 3 questions. I had 2 questions for most, but navigation is important, as you all know. How are you helping athletes navigate the transitions they experience? I think a lot of times we think about transitions or navigation once they're done playing. There's a lot of navigation happening while they're playing, right? You navigated into the school. You got injured. You're navigating here. You got return to protocol. You're returning back to play. That's a navigation. You got a navigation of a new position coach, right? You got a navigation of, man, Ed Jones, I'm feeling good playing nose guard, and then they go recruit a kid who's 6'6", 325, 2% body fat. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to navigate not playing no more, right? It's a lot. Navigating winning, nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that. What happens when the program, the guys who, like, when I was at Kansas, I knew they were gonna start winning. We had a freshman class, they were talking about it. We're gonna change this thing. But what happens when you do change it? And you got expectation now. Oh, we winning. Oh, we can go to bowl game. Oh, we gotta win this bowl game. Oh, the next year, y'all should be able to win the Big 12 championship. That's a lot, right? So they're dealing with all that. So I just always wanna talk about navigation that's happening. Appreciate you. Navigation that's happening inside. All right, how are you providing support during moments of uncertainty and change? Kind of what I talked about there, uncertainty and change. There's a lot of different life things happen. How are we providing support, right? And then last one here, how are you staying connected with athletes during and after their transitions? I think there's a lot of connection during, after, just stay connected, stay connected. All right, one guy charged me up, I'll never forget, Tyus Bowser, he played for the Ravens for a while. And I text him, and he said, hey man, why, you don't hit me up anymore because I'm in the NFL? I was like, ooh. He just kind of, and it was like, dang. He was right. Why? Because I got to Houston, I spent 8 months with Tyus. I didn't realize I had that impact on Tyus. So Tyus got drafted. Hey, congratulations on getting drafted. Hey, Tyus. He's like, hey, man, he just texted me. Hey, Ed Jones, man, you don't mess with me no more, huh? I said, dang. So now I needed these NFL guys because you think they got all, and it's, system, or but they want their people that they know. So checking in as well. All right, last one here is development systems. So organizations with strong systems and processes are 2 times more likely to achieve their goals. So development systems are basically just putting all that into a system. So everything we talked about, BEYON, and then you put it in the system, right? So when I did consulting, when I went to Iowa State to do consulting with them, we did all that. Okay, now let's put it in the system, right? Let's do this cyclical, whatever, let's put it in the calendar, different things like that, right? So how do we create development systems, right? Because all that sounds good, but if I can't put in a system, a coach don't. Coaches are they're systems. Systems. Like I said, that's why I get so, to a T. This is what the locker room got to look like. Go back. Equipment, I don't like it. Go back. Why the jersey got that on it? Change it, right? When we had like a 40-minute meeting on the lifting shirt, for the side, all they gonna do is sweat and take it off. In Houston, they don't run with it. It's hot. It's gonna be on the ground. Anyway, so development system, have you clearly documented your approach to player development, right? So now after we walk, let's say we walk a coach, a parent, an athletic director through that. Now we got to clearly communicate that, right? And then how are you communicating your program internally to coaches and staff? How? So now I can go to that strength staff because the people I needed to know. And so everywhere I worked, it was just me. I hated it, but I was like, you know what? They not gonna hire nobody. It sucks. They gonna recruit and gonna get 47 people for us to sign 25 guys, but it's okay, right? They're not gonna hire nobody. So I said, I just need eyes around the building. So let me go talk to strength coaches. Don't nobody talk to them. So I'm over there at the strength coach. Hey, y'all, man, appreciate y'all, man. I really appreciate y'all wanting this belonging. Y'all saw me talk about belonging. Y'all are big on that. I appreciate y'all. If y'all need anything, let me know, right? Boom. So now I go to academics. Hey, this education, I know they learning this stuff, but I know we got some other stuff. Y'all want to talk about things that y'all are seeing that we can do this. Boom. Got that, right? Dietitian. Hey, I know you know, some of these guys don't understand why they're gaining weight, why we're asking them to lose weight, blah, 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 whatever it may be. But we can talk about their purpose, like their playing purpose. Blah. So I'm walking around doing all this, communicating this. Now I got the whole, I got eyes everywhere. Everywhere. It's kind of scary, some of the stuff I knew. Them play, I used to love it. They know, I was like, I know it all, right? So that's that. All right, so let me get questions because I know I want to, all right, perfect. Questions. Yeah.
Pacify you.
Absolutely.
Does that
makes sense. So the biggest thing I did was awareness. A lot of them don't even know cost of living, never heard it. So during the NFL draft is when I get them. The NFL draft combines when I get them. So one thing I did, and I'll get to your question. So like during the combine, I said, hey, this is a combine schedule. So all they see is run, lift, jump. They don't know the full combine schedule. That they're gonna have you up as much as you can, right? So they're like, yo, that's a full combine schedule? Yeah. And you interview everything you do. So like that. So then we went into the draft. How much did you think the first pick of draft made? How much do you think the last pick? So the last pick actually was Grant Stewart, who was with us at Houston. Shout out to Grant. He's got, if y'all watch, he played for the Lions with the Chargers, got long hair, runs fast. His story's incredible story. So you'll hear stuff like they'll be like, oh, Trevor Lawrence was the first pick that year. Oh man, he probably gonna get $5 million a year. So how much you think the last guy? Oh, he got to make $2 million a year. So now we know, and we all know that ain't true, right? So it's awareness. So then we say, okay. So the next day after the draft, so day one we do that. We come in the weekend. I got a picture of Uncle Sam. How much you think Uncle Sam getting out that paycheck? And then which states, or do y'all know what no income tax means? Do y'all know what that means, right? And so we would talk, and they would say like, and what helped us was we had a guy. Fred Miller's son was there. Fred Miller played for the Titans for a while. His son was there, so he knew everything. I mean, everything. It's like, dang. I was like, what do you think the vet minimum is? He's like, oh, he's 75. Like, he knew it all, but it was good. But it was good for them to see that from him because they're like, dang, like, you know this stuff, right? But to your point, it's just awareness. So then they get a teammate drafted, right? Hey, so-and-so's going to Buffalo. You don't think New York City, but New York's still a state. They didn't even know about the jock tax, game checks. Like, and so it's awareness, and then after the awareness, now you can have a conversation. Because if you just come in, it's heavy. Appreciate you. If you come in heavy, but a lot of them, to my point, do not know this stuff. I mean, it's you know this, y'all know this, right? But it's still alarming when you're talking to them, like, oh, you didn't know that? Or they don't understand why Shaquille O'Neal, most athletes live in Texas. Well, they have property in Texas or Florida or Tennessee or I think Nevada, right? No state tax. So it's building awareness first and then helping them. But then I love what you said about helping them navigate. Now you dive deeper. Hey, I want you to come back tomorrow with the little sign. Give them a little assignment. Come back tomorrow. Whatever makes it easiest for them. If you got a $100,000 check, based off that state, how much of that, if I told you, hey, here's $100,000 today, I want you to come back tomorrow, whatever you got, before we start spending and investing, whatever, because that's the word invest in that. And then now they got to do some research. They come back. They're probably going to use chat. That's fine, because it helps. But they come back and say, oh, I'm going to have $41,000. All right, cool. Now I'm going to give you another. Hey, now do that. You did that for New York. Go do it for Texas. Boom. Bet. Hey, do you understand why when Trevor Ariza got traded from the Lakers to the Rockets on the same contract, he made way more money? Yeah, so it's like giving them something once they find awareness. Yeah, so I'll answer your first question. We were talking about this yesterday. Most player development programs fall underneath the head coach. And it's whatever he wants. Now, and that's the benefit of that for player development professional. I tell people doing student athlete development is you get in that coach's salary pool. So now he can pay you whatever he wants to pay you. There's somebody in the SEC making about $600,000 for the role. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, some of y'all know who it is. But he can pay you. Now, on the flip side of that is you don't have a connection to the university and athletic department. So, and I hope I'm answering this correctly. So when I quantify, it don't matter how many numbers I come to. So at the University of Houston, Tom Herman gets he leaves. I'm at the basketball. No, I take it back. We got fired. Major Apple, 8-5 season. My alma mater fired us, winning season. I go to a basketball game that night. I'm talking to our head booster. I can see her face, Miss Elaine Ebner. She comes up to me. Hey, Ed, we tried. And I knew exactly when she said that, what she meant. I thought I was going to be safe because essentially, I'm not going to tell a coach I don't have nothing to do with the on field. I know I do, but I'm not going to tell a coach that, right? Hey, man, I'm just helping guys off the field. And she said the head coach wanted, for him to take the job, he had to wipe it clean. So it didn't matter, essentially, with the numbers. So it is good to have, it does matter when you interview with people, though. When somebody call you, and you can say, boom. So, like, for instance, at Baylor, and this is when I started doing numbers, I started diving in numbers. So Dave Aranda had me do a lot of class checking stuff. And what happened was that we created a class checking accountability system, and we decreased class absence by 58%. Now, if I'm a coach and I see that, you decrease class absence by 58%. Now we talking. So I tell people to use it. If you can't use it at university, take it so you use it next place. Because you're talking at a convention, I'm talking, oh man, I saw your presentation. Yeah, man. So a lot of this stuff right here, that belonging stuff, we found out, I just didn't want to do stats because I wanted to get the questions. We found out that we had a 45% retention rate when we started doing belonging metrics. Retention rate? Now you got a coach's ear because he got to pay money. And then your second question, which programs to follow? It's tough. It's a lot of professionals doing great work. It don't matter if the head coach don't support it. And so your programs that are supported by a head coach So like a Clemson, Dabo does it. Now I'm just like, Dabo, you gotta start winning. Stop doing it. You gotta win. Like we needed them to win because it was pushing everything. So what happened was Dabo will win, and then Dabo's defensive coordinator, Brent Venables, go to Oklahoma. And Dabo has they have a 6-person staff. So Brent Venables gets a 5-person staff. Jeff Lebby, that was at Oklahoma with Brent Venables, goes to Mississippi State. Boom, he gets a 3-person staff, somebody from Mississippi State. So essentially it's who supports and then who's winning. It's kind of messed up, but I did it. It worked. So I would go to a position coach. Hey, coach, just want to let you know, this is what we're doing today with the receivers. You remember you talked to me about those receivers. They're going to learn these 3 things in the financial meeting today. We got somebody speaking. We just want to let you know so they can be there. And then the coach will be like, hold on, what? They learning what? Oh, yeah, these 3 things right here. You got some time? Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. So I would always use a player to connect me to the message. Because anytime they hear a player name, they're locked in. Because normally when people come in about their player, they all, whoa, hold on now, hey, what did he do? What did Ed do? Right? And so it's like, hey, I just want to let you know, Ed did a great job at the session. Man, he was interactive. Your group's doing a great job. Can't thank y'all enough. I'll never forget, we were at Houston. Tom Herman he did it for me. Our running backs were doing a lot of community service, and his wife saw it on Twitter. She's like, hey, the running back's doing well. He comes in the meeting fresh Tuesday morning. Coaches, hey, I know we got more than 6 running backs with this kid. D-line, you better figure it out. Man, they was in I loved it. They in my office, what can we do next week? What can we do? I was like, we can do more. Like, wow. But if you have a coach like that, I always use players because they listen. I'm glad you said that. So after I got fired at Baylor, I found out, unfortunately, they were lying about me. Found out during the interview. Yeah, shout out to the head coach I knew. He knew me. He said, hey, man, I'm hearing stuff that's not you unless you change. I said, nah, that ain't me. So they were saying I couldn't get things done. So let's go back to the academic meeting I created, right? Because of the academic meeting, 25 of our players made the Big 12 commissioners honor roll. That's a quarter of our team. And because of the academic meeting, we hit our semester high for GPA. So now you can't fight numbers. Numbers, 58% class rate. You can't have these academic numbers if people are dropping class. So if I go to my next interview and say, hey, we have 58% decrease in class drops, which helps us academic, you can't fight that. We all know that's not happening, right? When I say, hey, whatever, we did this. When I go to Les Miles and say, hey, we did 63 player development programming in the first 2 years. We did 25 during COVID, which helped our team stay together. We didn't win, but it was pivotal for what they did as success after I left, right? So I learned that. I learned on the back end. I tell people all the time, put a number to it. How many kids in the room? I say either use whatever number's higher, whichever sounds better. How many kids in the room or what percentage? If I got 60 kids in the room, coach might not see 60, but if I say 50% of the team's in there, boom. Because if a coach says every time we go to red zone, we get 50% of our touchdown, you sign me up. I'll sign. If you got an offensive coordinator that get 50%, where's he at? And the boosters be like, we'll pay him right now, right? So I learned it helps because it's just like, it helps there and it helps in recruiting it well. And it helps when they start to hire people. You're like, hey, I'll dip. I mean, I want to stay, but you know what I'm saying? So